Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to create a web application. The first thing I want you to do is to create your index, your script, and also your style. But before going, let's just try to create what we should have in our index. So you just have your body. So within your body, the first thing I want you to do is to create a div for that. So here the div, we're going to have a class of container. The class should be container. Alright. And also within the div, I want to have an H1 or H2 depending on how big you want that to be. Then just once. So it's going to be like a header. So it's going to be H1 whether can say weather app or weather info. So so the next thing I want us to have within that is to create another div just within that div to have a kind of input where you can enter all your entries. So we just say div. So within the div, instead of going to use a form, a lot of times you want to, whenever you want to use input, you have to use form, say form input. But then sometimes you just want to neglect all of this and just go straight down to your inputs. And you want to have it as text. Another important thing that you should have here is your ID, because these are things that we always want to fetch at the end of the day. So your ID should have it like, let's say, city input. Like city input, right? So another thing I would love you to have is your placeholder list. Because other time you want to sign into maybe your email, you enter your email address or something, or enter your age. So you can have something like enter city, right? So so within that you want to have, or let's say enter city name. Sorry, that's not spelled correctly. Name, right? So after that, just inside of that you want to have a button as well. So it's gonna be a button. So within the button, of course, you have to give your button an ID. Let's say ID it's gonna be like, okay, get whether BTN or button or something. So get where the BTN, so just short form for button. So you can just say get weather here, weather, right? So I think we're able to get some of this information. So this is going to be our H1, which is going to be a header, like a kind of your title. Then within under it you have your input, where you have you can enter. Then also within that particular div, you have your what's it called, your button, so that you can just get your button up, get your weather info by clicking that button, right? So next thing I want us to do after that, just below this, everything's still within the outer div, that's a container, because we want to put all of this in a container. So you just create another div. Of course, it's just a best practice. When you start styling, it's going to make your work a lot easier, right? So that's why you just want to wrap all of this within the div. So in getting your city info, the first thing you want to get is you want to get the city name. You want it to appear a little bit big, right? Of course, but then we are not getting anything inside, right? So we can say ID, it's going to be city name, right? So you still want to get maybe it can be span, or then let me just use paragraph because it's going to be a kind of text. So you want to have your maybe temperature, or temp, but since we don't want it to be temperature, hope I got that correct, temperature. I think that's spelled correctly. Next thing we want to get is another paragraph, which is going to be for weather descriptions. So it's going to be like a description. Right, so of course we've not started styling, but let's just quickly see what our browser looks like currently. So this is our page. We are having all of these here, right? So and I think it's amazing. Now we can get our weather. Of course, you can enter your city name. You have your weather app, just as the title, right? So that's going to appear. Let's just go back to our VS Code. So of course we don't have anything here. So within the div, we want to have a class of we want to have ID, weather info, then the class, of course, because these are information, right? So you want to have something like, okay, ID just going to be like get weather info, or just weather info, or information. But I think it's okay that way. Then of course it's only when you apply, when you get information that you want to show it. So it can be a class of hidden. You don't want it to appear alone and stuff. Of course, you see that because we don't have any any write-up within our H2, P1, P2. But at the end of the day, we'll be able to fetch all of this. Of course, I'm going to show you how you can always target all these IDs to get your description. So I think we made a mistake here. It's supposed to be ID instead of description, and the spelling. Hope that's correct. Description. I think that's correct. That's correct. So we just corrected that. I think you understand that right away. So another thing we want to get is, of course, we have this div right here. We just want to have something like maybe a error message, right? So just outside of that, you want to have something like an error message, right? So we can just say, okay, your P, because it's just one item, we don't need to put that in the div. Do you understand? So it's just a paragraph. So we can have like something like, okay, ID of error message, right? Then can have the class should always be hidden. Class always be hidden. Of course, the essence of having this class hidden is when we start styling. Of course, you see how we can hide some of these things. So by the end of the day, we're going to have like city not found. Please try again. Let's try again. Yeah. So I think you are getting to the root of all of this. So it's just a special method that we can always use, right? So of course, another thing we want to do to ensure that we get all this right, so that we can start styling. Of course, let's just check again and see what we've got. So let me just reload this. I see you can say city not found. Please try again. Of course, you don't want this to show, right? You don't really want that to show, and that's the essence of having that class of hidden. So we're able to just hide this information, so that's it's not going to show why we go, because it doesn't really make sense to be that way, right? So that's how you can create your HTML. And next thing you want to do is to go straight down to our JavaScript. Of course, I'm still going to show you how you can link your sorry, we're going to go to our styling. That's the cascading style sheet. So I'm still going to show you how you can go link your style, because we're having an external, right? We're having in styling, you have inline, you have external, you have internal, right? So but this time we're using external. So it's always good to always link it, and if you don't link that, of course it's not going to reflect on your work. So before I go on, let me just quickly rename this to be weather. So we're just going to have I want us to have this as titled weather application. I think that's cool. Right, I'm having this. Yeah. So I think you got all of this correctly, and I think we are cool. So the first thing we did was to have a div. So let's have a recap. So the first thing we had to do was to create a container. So it's going to make sense if we start styling, right? Of course. But so far, all of this will not really reflect on our work, right? So what it's going to help us while we're styling our work. So we have a title. You have your first div, which has the input. So within that, we also have our button, and also we created another div to have our weather info, right? So and the class always hidden. Of course, this is going to take effect when we start styling. So let's go straight down to our cascading style sheet and style all of this to get a perfect look and feel for this weather application. Of course, in styling your work, you can always use different libraries like frameworks. You have Bootstrap, you have Tailwind, you have Dicey and stuff like that. But we just want to have a custom styling, right? So of course, before you even go on to use all these frameworks, it's always a best practice that you understand a lot of these custom, cascading style sheet, right? Of course, you don't want just to jump into starting with all those libraries. Of course, it's going to be way easy. We just go to our styling, and the first thing we want to do, of course, is always the best practice that you go to your universal. We're here already, right? So let me just click on your universal. So what I want you to add here is your margin. Always make your margin 0. Of course, that's going to save you a whole lot of headache. Margin is going to be 0. Of course, when you have 0 pixel, there's no need to add your pixel, right? You can just put in 0. So another thing I want you to remove is your padding. Your padding is also 0. So that's the best practice. So next thing I want you to do is to have your border box sizing to be border box. Of course, you have different options there. You have content box, of course, you have border box, but always go for this border box, right? So we are done with that. Of course, we are able to control the length and breadth, of our page, right? So just go to your body, and remember, if you are styling, you have a selector, you have for body, of course, is a tag name, right? So you don't need to add any hash or dots because it's just within the body. So first you want to do your front family font. You want to make it, let's say, Aria. I think it's just a very common one. So another one you want to use is your background color. So of this, we're already having a kind of suggestions already. So makes our work easy, makes our life easy. This time we want to use a dark background. So we're just going to use the S code for that. So let's say 1201, something like this. So we have that suggestion already. So it's going to give us a dark background, right? So that's the kind of background we want. Another thing we want to look at is at the color. Of course, we want a white color as a background. Of course, generally your FFFF. So that gives you a white color. So you can make it 6 times, depending. So I think that makes sense now. So depending on the intensity of the white. So another one you want to look at is your display. So under display, you have different display option. You have block, you have flex, you have grid. So this time we just want to have a flex. Of course, you see why we need a flex for this. Makes our work easy. Another one you want to have is your content. I want it to be justified. So justified content, you want it to be at the center, and you want to also align your item to the center, right? So align item to the center. I think it's just, I hope you understand all of this. It's just good to understand your CSS before jumping into all of these libraries, right? So your height, why you want to have your height to be 100 viewport height, right? 100 VH. So of course it can be, your height can be in pixel as well, but I think with this it's just a standard that gives you a central position when you're doing that. So far, let's see what we've got. So just go to your oh, I told you we've not linked our CSS to our HTML. So what we need to do now is just to come here, just under our title we can have something like a link. So within the link tag, just that's your CSS. So click on it, just save it, and let's view it one more time and see what we got. Okay, see, now we have this situated, but we're not getting some other information correctly, like our background is not changing. So why is the background not changing? Let's see that. Let's see what's happening. We're supposed to have this one correctly. So what's happening? 1, 2, 1. Okay, let's see what we've got now. It's still not reflecting. Oh, sorry. And that's why it's called cascading style sheet. You see, we are supposed to have this color as our background color, but because we repeated a background color of white, so this one is it's going to take effect because it's like you are changing. It's a cascade. It takes a cascading order. So it's the one that you put after that's going to take effect. It's going to override what you had before. So I think that's just the mistake we made. So this one is supposed to be color instead of background color that we reinstated again. So it's just going to be color. I want it to be white. It's going to be the hash FF. FF. So it's going to be that way. So I think it's going to take effect this way now, and that's the beauty of all of this. And perfect. So we now have our background color to be white. So that's why it's called cascading style sheet. It takes a kind of as I think can I say ascending. So the one you put after takes precedence than the one you put before, and that's why of course you're still going to understand some of these concepts when you start working on your style. So I think it's good that we have that hero. So let's just go on to see other things that we want to put in there. So let's see. I want to see how we can style our container. So I think next thing we want to style is our container. So let us go on to see our container. So because our container is in a class, you remember. So these are query selector, what's it called, styling kind of terms there. So we just have to use a dot because we want to pick this class. You understand? So it's not more a tag name. So if it's tag, of course, it's going to be this div. Because we're using a class, so it has to be dotted. It's going to be dot container, right? So that enables us to select that. So next thing I want to put is your curly braces. So within our container, we also want to have a background. Remember our container is just everything that holds everything from our input to our button down to the error message that we had. Do you understand? So we want to have a background color, of course, a special background color that is different from the page background color. So this time we're going to have something like 1E, 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 right? So I think that's correct. So it's going to be a bit not as dark as what we had in the background. So next thing we want to also have is padding. Of course, remember we already had 0 padding to our universal selector, so this one takes precedence over that, especially for our container. So yeah, we just want to have 20 pixel. So the next thing we also want to do is to have, okay, I think let me just quickly have this beside our our VS Code so we can see how it goes. I think it's better this way so we can always see what's happening. So we also want to have a border radius. I want a border radius of, let's say, 10 pixel. And I told you if your pixel or your length is more than 0, you maybe like 1 pixel, but once it's 0, you don't need to add a pixel, but then you can just add it. But of course, adding it doesn't really make any difference. So I also want to set a width size of let's say we want to make it 400 pixel. I think that's perfect. Also want to have a kind of box sizing there. So adding a box sizing to this. So this one takes precedence on this particular container, right? So you want to have a 0, then you want to have a 5 pixel, and you want to have another 15 pixel. So it's going to take effect on different sides, right? Just a box shadow that you want, and the color you want to have like a RGB, and you just want to have a bracket this way. You can add your color, whatever color you want to add, but then just the way that you can always get it right. So another one. So I think I just make another one to be 0.2. So you want to make it so light, like very, very light, right? So another thing you want to do is to have a text align. So that's going to align your text to the center. So text align, and you want to have it as center. I think if you save this and you see now, we now have a different color. We now have a lot of this aligned to the center, right? So aligned to the center. So the next thing we want to do is to pick our H1. H1 we want to give it. Let's see what place that we used H1. Okay, I think H2 is used here. It's smart move. So I'm going to start our H1. So let's go. And because it's just a tag name, we don't need to add this query selector. Just have this. So we want to set a margin bottom. So we can have some space just below this, right? So it's going to be 20 pixel from that. Another one we want to also have is let's say font size. We want to control the font size, so we're just going to be 24 pixel. So see that takes effect, and see I think way smaller. I can see the margin. So let me just show you that if you have a bigger margin, let's say you have a 30 or 50 pixel margin, I see that it's going to really take effect, right? Oh, sorry, we're supposed to add margin bottom, not top. Okay. So I think that was the issue there. Bottom. Oh, bottom should be BO. So that's like bottom. So something like this. So I see the gap is so wide. So we just want to leave at 20. I think that is just okay. I think it's okay. So I think that's the styling on that. So the next thing I want to select is the input container, because I want to see, and that's why I see the beauty of having all of these in div, right? So our input container, these are input containers. So we want to style that. So our input container contains like your just this one and the button. So we just want to work around these two, style it in a more beautiful way. So let's go on to do that. So we want to just come with input dash container. All right. And the first thing we want to do is to have a display. You know what your display is, right? So at least you're familiar with the display. I just want to use flex all around all of this. So next thing we want to have is justify, because we just have this side by side. So we just want to have, let's say, space around. You have space between, space around, space evenly. I think let me just go for space between, right? So another one we want to have is to have a margin bottom, where you have some space just within here, right? Margin bottom. So I don't want to make a mistake this time, so I'm just going to select that. So we also want to have just 20 pixel here. Let's see the effects. So I think that is. Can we see anything of effect there? I'll see that. Okay, let's make it 5. Oh, sorry. This should be, I think, ID, not class. Should be ID or something. Let me check. See, the input is input container. Should have input container. Oh, we didn't name that. So sorry about that. So we're supposed to have this as class input container, right? Dash container. So we should have something like that now, right? So, but the space we use there is just too much because I wanted to see what is actually happening, right? So we don't want to have that. Let's make it 20 pixel. See what we've got. So we see the gap here, and it's not something that we want to work with. So we'll find a way of getting that better. So I just used justify content to be center, but I got that with no space. Of course, you can always work around that. Let's say I want to say space evenly. I think that's way better, right? Or what other space there? We have space around. Wow. Let me go for space evenly. Let's see if that makes sense. Let's still have some space in there. So I think that's cool. So the next thing you want to have is you want to style just what's inside the input, right? So the text, the space, and things like that. So there's a special method that we can use for this. It's going to be input as your tag name. Then you have this brackets where you type your type of button or type of input. Of course, you have different type of inputs. I'm going to show you. So it's going to be type equals. So this time we're using text. So inside you just write in text. So just come here, curly braces, then you drop that. The first thing you want to have is width. You want the width to be 70%. Of course, that's another unit that you can always use. You can use percentage for that. But before I go on, let me quickly show you something. You see the length is so wide, right? I just want to show you something that in that you can have type to be text. Just want to show you that you can have. So you can have button, you can have submit, you can have search. So depending on what you actually want. But because we want to, okay, let's say we want to use search, for example, and let's see what that has in there. So you see, I'm going to have search, but let's revert back to text. So that's what we want to use, right? So just go back to our style. Want to make it 70%. It says white now. You also want to have a background color of maybe dark background color. You see, we're working just within that input, right? So you want to have like a bit darker. It's 3, 3, 3, 3. That makes sense, right? So another thing you want to have is do you want to have a border, because we are seeing some border here. You want to have a border of course. Just want to show you the options of border you can have. So here you can have you can have all of these, but this time we just want to have none, right? You can have navy, you can have Joe white or something. So we just want to have none. We just want to add a border radius. You want that to have some curve. So border radius is going to be 5 pixel. And you want the color of your entry, the color that you'll be getting by when you enter your maybe your city or something. You want it to be white, but just not really baked, right? So there's I think that's okay. And then outline. The outline is when you click in there, you can see some lines just all around. So for the outline, you want it to be none. You want it to be none, right? So we're just gonna have it as none, and when you go there, you see we have those changes in there, right? Now you see enter city to be white, right? So that's how you can style. I see because we use a special method, we're able to style what's inside the input itself, right? So anytime you want to style anything inside, so you just have to use your bracket, then the type equals whatever type is going to be. So I think that's easy to understand. So let's see how we can style our button. So of course we're just going to use a tag button. Then first thing we want to have is the width. So this time I want to use a percentage, shall I say 25%, right? You also want to use a padding. I think that's very easy. So you have to use a padding of 10 pixels, and you also want to see background color of maybe purple, something related to purple. So that's going to be 6200 EA. I think that's okay. So another one want to use is want to have a border, but of course you know that your border can be none, can be whatever you want, can be some sort of colors that you want also. And let's just see some effects. Yes, you see we're already getting there. Another thing we want to have is let's say you want to have it to be white instead of black that we're currently there. So it's going to be F, and we have that suggestion already. So we see that has changed. So another thing we want to also have is how do you want your cursor to be? You want to leave that pointer, right? So see, let's see the difference now. Cursor, and you have different options. You have scroll. You have, you have let's say you want to scroll. let's save and see what we've got. I think, okay, all scroll, so that's a different effect you're going to have, but I think we just want to use pointer and just try that out. Pointer, that's really easy. So it's going to be, see, it's from arrow that's changed to a pointer. So another thing we want to have is maybe a transition. We want to have some sort of transition to that. So we just want to background, a background color, so just under, just within 0.3 seconds. So see the effect, see that effect, right? So that's the kind of transition. See, it's shaking a bit if you watch that closely. So that's how you can, you know, style your button. And I think we are getting there, we're getting to the point, and looking beautiful. And let's see other places I want to style. Of course, we still want to see the over effect and other things within our app. Let's see if we can add some padding to this that I want it to just cut to the part there. So let's say padding of 2 pixels. Let's see the effect we've got. I think let me make it or let's make it say 5. Of course, there are other ways that we can do that, but then I think it's better now. So I don't want it to just start with this line, so I'm able to push that there. So another thing I want to do is to see how our overstate can be. Like whenever I click on this button, I should have probably a different color. Of course, you can see some level of transition, like 3 seconds. You're getting this 3 milliseconds rather. You're getting this effect. You see the pointer just shaking. So next thing I want to see is how I can add over effect. So to add over effect, whatever document you're going to, oh sorry, whatever tag you're going to have your over. So this is the method. It's just going to be. So we're just going to use over. So this is a special method, of course. This time we want to have a margin. So whenever you over that, let's give it a margin top. I want to target just the top part of 20 pixels. So that's all we want to do on that. So see that? Whenever I click on that, it's just give you this, right? Let's see other things I want to do. I want to also have our hidden. So this time, like I explained earlier, you can have a flex box or content or block, but this time we just want to have none. We don't want it to display, so see that it disappears. So let me just remove that and see. So anything hidden, see, anything with the class is going to just get away. And of course, the top effect will help us bring that out. If it's hidden, and if it's not hidden, it's going to generate that. Or if it's not hidden, it's going to just make that disappear. So that's all we want to have. Then for our error message, we just want to have error message. Let me just copy that correctly because I'm not sure. So just have to copy that out. Then we want to have it like, okay. So we want to have a color of red. You can have FFS7 2. So this should be 5, sorry, not S5. So that's what we want to have there. Then you also want to set the margin, margin top as well, of margin top of 20 pixels. So you're gonna save that. So I just want to make you see what that looks like. You see, the color has changed, right? So that's what it's gonna look like. So just make it hidden. So you see, it's looking really great. We just want to have this, over effects whenever we on here. So I think it's coming to life now. This is all we got in our CSS. And the next thing we want to go on to do is to write onto our JavaScript and see how we can make all of this functional. So whenever you enter a city, you click on get weather, it's just going to generate, and when there's an error, it's going to probably enter the correct city name. So it's going to be city not found, please try again. So that's what we want to do next. So let's go on to our JavaScript.